Uh, Good afternoon, everybody. My name's John Campbell, and I'm the Chief Constable of Thames Valley Police. Thank you for joining us today on what is clearly a terrible day for Thames Valley Police, but obviously it doesn't touch the anguish and the loss that Andrew's family and friends are feeling. I'm going to read out a statement in respect of the incident, some of which the details will be familiar to you. I am then able to answer some questions, but obviously you'll be aware this is a live investigation, and so we have to be cautious about anything that we say that might prejudice the integrity of that investigation. So please don't see that as being dismissive or rude, but that's the important aspect of the current live investigation. We are all shocked and saddened by the death of our colleague PC Andrew Harper. Thames Valley Police was called to an incident near to Sulhamstead on the A4 between Reading and Newbury at 11:30 p.m. yesterday evening. Tragically, Andrew was attending a reported burglary along with a crewmate and was killed at the scene whilst performing his duties. Andrew was a roads policing officer who was based at Abingdon Police Station. He joined Thames Valley Police as a special constable in 2010 and became a regular police officer in 2011. Andrew was 28 years old. Our thoughts are with Andrew's friends and family, who are being supported obviously by specially trained family liaison officers. And to add further angst to what are terrible circumstances, Andrew was only married 4 weeks ago. My thanks go to all those staff and officers who attended this incident, as well as our colleagues at the fire service and also the ambulance service for their professionalism and support at what you can imagine was obviously a distressing scene. I also want to thank friends and colleagues from the wider police family who have been in touch with their messages of support for the force. As a sign of respect, our flags are flying at half-mast today in honour and memory of Andrew. A murder investigation has been launched, and currently there are 10 people who have been arrested on suspicion of murder. Those arrested are all male and aged between 13 and 30 years of age. They are all in police custody at this time. Because we have 10 people in custody, it will be inappropriate to provide any further details about the investigation at this time. But what I can say is we are working hard and diligently to establish what has happened. In addition to that, I would ask the public and the media not to speculate on the circumstances of the incident whilst this investigation is ongoing. A scene watch remains in place at the scene of the incident at Ufton Lane and Lambdon's Hill remain closed. The A4, which is a main road in this area, the Bath Road, has since reopened. I want to thank all members of the community for their ongoing cooperation, and I appreciate this tragic incident will have a devastating impact on us all. But we do appreciate your support, and of course we are here to offer you support as your local police. Finally, I want to take this opportunity to appeal to anybody who has information about the incident, who can contact us as soon as possible. You can call us on our 101 number or visit our website. In addition, there are obviously the numbers available via Crime Stoppers if you wish to give information anonymously, and that's 0800 555 111. Thank you.
Chief Constable, what can you tell us about PC Harper's colleague who was with him, what they saw and what they experienced? And what would you say to your officers today, many of whom are going to be actively involved in the investigation into their friend's death?
Well, the fact that so many of his colleagues were present at the scene is something that is clearly very distressing for them, as well as them being professional police witnesses. We are making sure that we are dealing with their welfare as well. So that's the first instance. In terms of the officer's crewmate, clearly we'll be giving all the support that we can. Anything that's obviously seen or heard as part of the investigation will be looked at by the investigators. I can't say at this time.
Mr. Campbell, from the helicopter pictures we could see skid marks in the road. What does that tell us about what happened?
Well, we have to examine and establish the exact cause of death for Andrew, and there's a post-mortem taking place as we speak. But what we do know is that at some point Andrew has been dragged along by a vehicle. But establishing the actual cause of death is something that obviously is going to take place over the next few hours and days.
So Andrew was on foot.
He was out of his police vehicle at the time. Yes.
Can you tell us if PC Harper was using a stinger?
I'm not aware that he was using a stinger, no. Yes.
Can I ask, please, sir, was it a marked police car?
As far as I'm aware, it was a marked police vehicle.
There's 2 other vehicles remaining at the scene. What was their role in this incident?
I'm not prepared to answer that in respect of the issue being around the investigation.
Question at the back. Has there been a police pursuit in the run-up to this incident?
There had been a police response to the burglary that was in progress. The full facts of the actual response are being established.
Where was that burglary?
Pardon?
Where was that burglary?
That was in the local area.
Yeah, back.
Can we establish where the burglary took place? Is it a residential property or a business?
I'm not prepared to go into the exact details of that burglary at the moment.
And the individuals who've been arrested, were they all arrested at the scene or have they been arrested at different locations?
They've been arrested at different locations.
Whereabouts?
I'm not prepared to say.
Yeah.
How quickly were they arrested after what happened?
They were arrested within, I think, an hour or so after the actual incident itself.
Were they all arrested at the same place?
I'm not prepared to say.
How many vehicles struck PC Harper?
We are not able to give that kind of information at this time. That will be part of both the criminal investigation, but also with colleagues from the Forensic Crash Investigation Unit as well that will establish that kind of information.
Are you looking for anyone else in your investigation?
We will always keep an open mind about anybody else that may be involved in this. Obviously, we have 10 people in custody, but if there are other people who are involved in this, then we will investigate appropriately and seek to arrest and bring them to justice.
All 10 being held on suspicion of murder, is that correct?
That's correct.
Are they being held on suspicion of any other offence?
At this time, my understanding is it's suspicion of murder at this time.
You mentioned the officer was recently married, and you've obviously gone on to say he was very professional. What was he like as a person? What was his character like?
Well, highly regarded, popular member of the team. Roads Policing Unit that he was on are a team of officers that are very professional, deal with a number of challenging policing environments. So we have experienced and capable officers on those teams. So well regarded and a significant loss to the force and also to his colleagues and friends.
Will Thames Valley Police be reviewing any of their protocols with regards to responding to incidents as a result of this?
Whenever we have an incident that ends up with the death or serious injury of any of our officers, we always go through a review. The primary focus at the moment is obviously the investigation. But as an organisation, we will also review to make sure that if there are any issues that we can learn from, there's nothing to suggest at this time or anything's been presented to me in that regard, but obviously we will always review what's gone on, particularly in these terrible circumstances.
Did you say the burglary was ongoing when the police initially responded, or was it a burglary that had already happened?
I'm not sure I said anything about the burglary. They were responding to the reports of a burglary.
And when had that burglary taken place?
Shortly before the officer attended.
And was it still being burgled at the place when they got there? Or had
Well, they were responding to reports of a burglary. Whether or not it was actually still taking place, I guess it depends what you mean by still taking place. But obviously the officers were involved in responding to that burglary.
Do you know why? Sorry.
do you think that those involved with the accident were involved with the burglary?
I'm not too early to say. But obviously the police officer was responding to the incident and then has lost his life. So that will be established during the investigation.
Do you know why PC Harper was out of his car?
No.
A police
Was
officer,
his crewmate out of his car?
I'm not aware that he was.
a police officer said to me today that you expect a bit of rough and tumble in this job, but you don't expect something like this. Is policing becoming more dangerous?
I think policing has always been dangerous. For all of us who have been in the police for some time, we know that we're regularly seeing an increase, I think, in violence presented towards officers. We know recently, within the last 2 weeks, we had PC Stuart Oaten from the Metropolitan Police that was attacked, and then we had PC Gareth Phillips from West Midlands Police who suffered serious injuries, and we wish them all collectively well for their recovery. So police officers day in, day out face the kind of challenges and physical violence that often results in assault. In these circumstances, in these extreme circumstances, it's resulted in the loss of Andrew's life. So from that point of view, is policing getting more violent? I think generally there's a challenge for society in terms of the easy recourse to violence, but certainly from a policing point of view, we know there are certain associated risks.
There's less fear of the police, less respect perhaps?
I can't say, that's a matter for others to judge. I've heard that for some time as an officer with some 30 years in. Often it's been said that there's less respect for the police. There'll always be those that have disregard for law and order, and that's who, as a service, that we are most looking to protect the public from.
Yeah, third row.
The vehicle struck PC Harper, was that self-stolen and had it been recovered?
I can't talk about that in respect to the ongoing investigation.
Tragically, the police have to deal with a lot of deaths due to the very nature of what they do, but this is obviously so close to home. As the head of the force, what do you say to your team? What have you said to your team in regards to this?
Well, from a force point of view, I mean, these are circumstances that, first of all, to some extent bring the force together. We all collectively recognise the risks to our officers, and when something so extreme happens, it's something that the force reflects upon very closely. Obviously, we have a responsibility to make sure our officers are as safe and well trained as we possibly can. But we know that certain things have happened and will happen that means that officers are seriously injured. What we do as a force in response to such incidents is make sure that all those officers that attended are dealt with both as witnesses, but also from a responsibility from us as a force to make sure we look after their welfare. And as you'll expect, there's some immediate things that we can do, but some of these things can take a long time to deal with and overcome. And then we have to manage both of those aspects. But we have trained members of staff from a range of departments across the force that we will galvanise in order to give them the kind of support that they need. The officer was well known across the force, you know, so it's felt very personally, despite the size of the force, and it's felt very personally by the whole of the police family in the UK, reflected by the amount of contact that I've had and other officers have had in respect of the death of Andrew.
How many of his fellow officers were present when he was struck?
There's a number of officers that were eventually at the scene, but I'm not in a position to say exactly who was there when he was struck.
Just Andrew and his crewmates, or more?
I'm not prepared to say who was there at the scene at the time.
Final question. Right, we're done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everybody.
Thank you.